After Chelsea struggles last season, everyone thought that this year would be the time that everything turns around and the Blues start to rebuild into a potential Premier League winning club. However, it's not necessarily been working out so far. So I'm going to ask, is the Todd Boehly project working? What's going wrong with it? What's going right with it? And what needs to happen in the near future? First of all, we've got to discuss what the Todd Boehly project is. And when he came into the club, there are a couple of things that we can easily look at. Now, he talks about supporting the foundation and helping the women's team, but I'm talking about the men's football club here and seeing what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. And the first thing that he mentioned was a commitment to investing in key areas. Apparently, so far, that has just meant on the pitch, because he's also discussed redeveloping Stamford Bridge, and I've not seen any evidence of that happening. And he's put a hell of a lot of money into the playing and coaching staff at the club, and that's all I can see as investment in key areas. And aside from that, he also mentioned further investing in the academy. Now, I'll go into that one a little bit more as well as we go on, but it's very clearly something that Chelsea have been doing. So, first of all, what's going right at the club? I think one of the main areas that it's been going right is they are building the foundations of a functional football club. Undoubtedly, the fact that they've gotten so much staff from a club such as Brighton shows that they know what a good functional football club looks like, even if they're not one at the minute. Brighton are a club that know how to spend their money wisely, and they know how to sort of use their position in the market intelligently in order to get the most out of their cash. Take Moises Caicedo, for example. He's now at Chelsea for 115 million quid. He moved to Brighton for 4. That's just intelligent transfer work, and getting some of those members of staff in is just as clever. There's also significant investment in the youth at the club. Now, having a quick look at their transfers from the last couple of years, you've got the likes of Andre Santos, David Detro Fofana coming in. Gabriel Slanina, I think, is a fairly young player. Andre Santos, they've also agreed a deal for Kendry Paez, who can't even move to the club yet because he's so young. There's also been a complete reorganisation of the squad, with players such as Lukaku leaving almost immediately. Let's see who else has gone out. Werner's also gone out. Emerson, Jorginho, Billy Gilmore, Batshuayi, Malang Sarr. So many players, like Andres Christensen's another example. There's so many players that have left since the arrival of Todd Boehly, and it's smart because you needed a complete rebuild of that squad. It was a squad that was getting a little bit older. It was a little bit bloated. A lot of players have gone out, and that's smart enough. However, we have to be honest, there's more problems than there are correct things at the moment. And what is going wrong? First of all, I would say a lack of team chemistry. Off the top of my head, the oldest player that's come in under Todd Boehly is, I'm going to have a quick look just to make sure I get this actually right. In terms of still being at the club, is Raheem Sterling. And he doesn't scream leadership. I don't know if Thiago Silva was last year as well, or if he was the year before. But Thiago Silva is probably the only reasonably old leader that is left at that club. Having a big rearrangement works, but when you're taking out an entire potential leadership group and trying to replace it with a completely new one, and also this last transfer window, the oldest person they signed was Christopher Nkunku, you're going to lose a lot of team dynamics. There's not going to be much chemistry, and it's not going to fit together on the pitch right away, purely because no one knows each other yet. It's going to take a little bit of time for that to blend together, and they'll all learn how to work under Poch. And in theory, that'll work out, but I think the transition has happened too quickly to be reasonably sane. There's also been a lot of spending on the wrong players, and I think at the wrong stage of a player's development. Now, Chelsea is saying that they want to invest a lot of money in the more intelligent buys, in the younger players. You've seen them basically dive headfirst into young players throughout Brazil, and that's all well and good. However, they're still throwing a lot of money at it. Angelo, 15 million euros. David Washington, 16 million euros. I don't know what the fee was for Kendry Paez, but it's not going to be cheap. And I think they've tried to emulate the Brighton model there, but they've done it a little bit differently. Brighton look at underdeveloped markets such as Japan or Colombia or Venezuela, markets where there aren't a lot of clubs doing the scouting there, but there's going to be talent because talent is all across the world. Football is an international game. Looking for young players is intelligent, but doing it in Brazil feels like it's a sort of misunderstanding of what was working at Brighton and similar successful clubs in the first place. You're looking for good players, you're looking for young players that have got potential to develop, but they're looking in the wrong places. And that also applies with a fairly poor squad balance. Look in the attacking wide possessions for Chelsea at the moment. This year alone, they have signed Christopher Nkunku, who can play out wide or in the middle, Cole Palmer, Nicholas Jackson, who is another attacker, David Washington, who I think is an attacking player. Looking at last season, you've got Raheem Sterling, Mudryk, you've got Madueke, Chukwuemeka can play out there. There's so many attacking players, and it's all the investment has gone towards these exciting youngsters. Key example is Mudryk. They saw what presumably was a very good highlight reel from his time at Shakhtar Donetsk, and then it's not paid off in the slightest. He looks like I Show Speed from the Sidemen charity match, just with less of a personality. That feels incredibly harsh. It doesn't feel wrong, though. And it's a lot of money to throw at players that aren't good enough to deserve those fees at this point. Whereas instead, you could be looking a stage earlier. Yes, you're waiting a couple of years, but you've said you're investing more in the academy. If you buy players to put into the youth system and then they gradually grow up from there, then you've not only saved tens and hundreds of millions of pounds, but you've managed to sort of buy more players because you're paying less, and you can sift through them and go, okay, you're good, you can be sold, and you can make a profit on the ones that you sell. It's just good business in the world of football. And ultimately, I think the issue at Chelsea is there's a lack of patience. With the signing of Caicedo, with the signing of Mudryk, it screams of, we want the end product and we want it now. But you're still sort of compromising your initial view for that. You're still saying, but we want good players. We want young but good. But you're not taking the time to look at who is young and good. And fans aren't taking the time to let those team dynamics come together. And the leadership is saying we need results now. So you're sacking managers that are designed for projects such as Graham Potter. And it doesn't work out. I mean, the club signed a lot of players for Thomas Tuchel last season and then sacked him. So those Tuchel players are no longer playing under Tuchel, they're playing under Graham Potter. And of course, that doesn't work because they're not Graham Potter's players. And it keeps on spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. It's going to take time. It's going to take patience with the likes of Maurizio Pochettino, who has to teach these players to play in a system. Because if the club sees things aren't going well at Christmas and they sack him again, they're just going to have to rebuild under another manager that hasn't got the players that they want and will spend hundreds of £millions only to sack someone again. That was a very quick rundown of what's going on with the Todd Boehly project, where the problems are, where the benefits are. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. It's always hugely appreciated. I reply to and like all the ones that I find interesting and can engage with. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe. I will see you later.